allergies hit right after my cold, so I'm...
Yeah, allergies are bad where we're at. I started getting them after taking my dog out for a walk for like 5 seconds.
Okay, I don't think I can fix that right now. No, I'm congested and I can't get it to go away. All right, so we're back with another off the shelf. Okay, no, hold on, Nick, you fucking can't.
Well, that's all, folks. See you next time.
Sorry,
Dang,
I just
could
had to
have
go.
taken longer. I was going to get started on some FGO grinding.
No, I had to aggressively blow my nose multiple times. So, we're back with another off-the-shelf, returning series again, which is always fun for us. So this is Fruits Basket Collector's Edition Volume 4, Show the Back, because there's different characters on the front and back. In the Collector's Edition, there's always a different character on the front and the back. So the front of this one is Momiji Soma, and the back is Hattori, who I love. Hattori's one of my favorites. So Nick Nack should remember who both these characters are.
I remember Momiji.
You should remember. Hattori's the doctor, the seahorse, the dragon.
I remember the seahorse and dragon a little bit.
Yeah, he's the doctor. We had an arc on him like really early on. He had that tragic story with his girlfriend. And the head of the family like ruining it.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it was back like volume 2 or some shit, like very early on. So, I've just discovered that the summaries for these books between the Tokyo Pop version and the Yen Press version, which is what this is, are different, which is super fun because I was trying to remember exactly which chapters we were covering because you have the book, not me. And each of these volumes covers like two books. So the collector's edition in this case covers volumes 7 and 8. Which is basically it's summer vacation and class field trip are upcoming. Yeah. And Black Haru is back. We love Black Haru. What?
I don't remember anything about summer vacation or field trip. In fact, I think they were pretty explicitly in school for one of the major parts I remember reading.
Well, yeah, I think they're supposed to be like prepping for, because that's why like she has to get like a new swimsuit and stuff.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that now.
Yeah. They're not like going out and having a summer vacation, but they're prepping for having a summer vacation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Because I was looking at the chapters and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. We needed a nice little vacation. This is great. It's also got a bunch of love storylines. Also upcoming parent-teacher conferences, which, how is that going to work for Toru?
Send in the seahorse.
Yeah, just send in the seahorse. Anyway, so yeah, how did you feel? It's okay. First of all, it's been a while since we read Volume 3. And we've actually been taking a fair amount of time between each of these, so I'm kind of hoping that you remember everything from the first 3 volumes, or at least enough to, like, not be super lost when reading this.
I don't know if I'd say I was super lost when reading this, but I do start to feel like Fruits Basket, outside of a few arcs, is really blending together for me. Even the stuff we've read this time, like, it's like, oh, that did happen.
Not to be cynical, but I personally think that that's true of most school-based series. And maybe it's because the characters are so often featured in school doing school stuff, you know? In the same outfits and the same hair. Sometimes it's really hard to, like, tell apart what's happening when, because it's all in the same setting. Don't get me wrong. I don't think, like, obviously, it's just school stuff happening across 2 volumes.
Yeah. I feel like it could stand out more for me if it were more. If it didn't feel so episodic, it probably wouldn't blend together as much for me. But a lot of the school stuff feels very like, this is the school-related thing of the week for this chapter to 3. This is the one for this chapter to 3. And that's why it's kind of blending together for me, because...
But I wonder if... Because like, you think about when this was published, and this is like early aughts, right? Like early 2000s, serialized in a magazine that came out at regular intervals. It makes sense that it's episodic, because that was more popular back then for stuff like School Life.
Yeah, no, I fully understand. It's just that that's just how it's feeling to read right now.
I'm loving that, like, Fruits Basket is kind of like the one of the shoujos that we stuck with, because it doesn't seem like, and I mean, obviously I realize I'm making a generalization here. It doesn't seem like you're super into it, but at the same time you're more into it than you were for the other shoujos I showed you.
Being fair, like, one of the shoujos felt like an insult to my intelligence, so...
Was that the Wallflower?
I don't remember which one. It was the... Which one was it? It was the one that I mocked about when we watched Heaven's Feel. I was like, it was good enough for you in that series with the high jump. The girl that infiltrates
Hanakimi. It was Hanazakari no Kimitachi-e for you in full bloom.
Yeah, that is the only one that's like made me like, what the hell?
You didn't really love the Wallflower either, Perfect Girl Evolution.
Yeah.
You were okay with Hanayori Dango, but Hanayori Dango is one that you already knew of.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
I'd also say Hanayori Dango is one that's like trying to be out of the ordinary compared to the others. It's not trying to play into it. It's not trying to, or if it does, it's trying to twist the tropes of the typical.
Yeah, what's a little felony?
Yeah.
Compared to a true love story. What's a little Geneva Convention breaking amongst partners?
It's a little dragging someone across the floor in your car between friends.
Yeah, or enemies, for that matter. Yeah, I know I've said it before in the comments to like a Fruits Basket video going up, but Fruits Basket is sort of like a seminal work in early shoujo, right? Like 2000 shoujo.
Yeah.
Like, if you were into shoujo in the 2000s, you knew Fruits Basket. You had watched it or you had read it. And you absolutely knew all about it. You had heard of it. Even if you were outside of the shoujo community, you had heard of it. And so I think because it's so famous, it means that a lot of people have read it, have seen it. But like, fame does not always equate to like really good story quality. And here's the thing: I don't dislike Fruits Basket. I really enjoy it, obviously, or I wouldn't have bought all the books. I wouldn't have like still been a fan of it. But it's not a masterpiece of writing. And it very much, like, I feel like if you were reading this literally in like a weekly episodic format, almost like an anime but reading, you'd probably like this a lot more.
Maybe, like, if this were like I bought like if this were the original release and I bought a magazine, and every once in a while between other works I had this little cute school life thing, it'd probably be enjoyable on that regard for sure.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I really love it, but I don't... Binging it is not a great choice. Like, I don't think I've ever binge read this successfully in one sitting, because I always get bored, like, halfway through. And for a series that's only, like, 23 volumes, that is not that much for me to go through.
I don't want to sit here and be like, the story of this manga is garbage, because it's not what this manga is trying to do. It's not trying to be a big, dramatic, story-driven series. It's trying to be more slice of life. And it's when I'm dealing with slice of life with this series in particular, it's hard for me to separate a couple things. It's hard for me to separate how much of it is the format I'm reading it in, how much of it is how often the tropes have been used since, because this is such a seminal work.
And so, very obviously for you, reading this now, these tropes seem tired, overdone, something you've seen 1,000 times. But in 2002...
And then the other thing that gets me is how much of this am I missing because I'm not necessarily part of the immediate target demographic.
Yeah, which is high school girls, high school girls.
Yeah.
That is a joke that fans will understand. From an earlier volume, but there's a moment where like Shigure has to go to campus for like Yuki or something, and he's high school girl, which actually now in retrospect is really fucking creepy, and I had never thought about that before. I don't like the realization I'm having today.
Yeah, you gotta not think about it too hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the joke there, and that's all I need to do. Um, I think I do like that this volume focused a little bit more on Yuki again, because it feels like we've been kind of away from him during the last volume when we were talking about like Hatsuharu and Momiji and stuff, and I did like that we got a little bit of like Yuki angst near the end about like what he's gonna do with his life and like what his future holds, especially with how his family life has gone so far and how he's very obviously had super bad experiences with the head of the family who basically controls their entire life. And it was nice that his brother tried to comfort him. I'm gonna leave that there.
There were two stories within this volume that I actually did enjoy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that comes to mind is the one with the friend that Toru makes, the delinquent girl.
Arisa.
Yeah, and like the entire trying to get out of the delinquent group. That was actually pretty. That was a good. I enjoyed reading that one.
I really like Arisa. Both of her friends are really fun characters, and I wish that we got to see them more. And I understand that typically we only see them like in the school setting, or if there's like a special event outside of it. We get a lot from the Soma family, but I'm honestly more interested in her two friends, who just seem like they're a great pair of people to follow. Like a series around one of the two of them would have been hilarious.
The other story that like really grabbed my attention was the one about the girl that went a little bit boy crazy for, was it Yuki? And like her, like no one else is following that she's having this entire ass character arc, and she's here like, I need to stop obsessing over this one guy.
Oh,
but it's so hard.
Motoko, the student council lady?
I believe so.
Yeah, who like realizes how obsessed she is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one I just thought was kind of funny.
Oh yeah, no, that was absolutely hilarious. I think maybe my least favorite part is the stuff about Ritsu, which is the other, the Soma that we get introduced to, the one that cross dresses.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. And I'm not quite sure why. I'm like entirely honest here. It's not an arc that I enjoy, and I don't really understand why. It just doesn't tickle me.
For me, I just file it away with the other billion side character introductions.
Like Kagura.
Who?
The boar obsessed with Kyo.
Ah.
They give me very similar energies, but on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
That's one thing I'm beginning to feel like is... Call this a complete 180 from my solo leveling opinions. I feel like this series has too many characters.
Well, yeah, because, let's see, for a main cast, essentially, what they're trying to tell us is that we have all 12 of the Zodiacs plus Kyo. That's 13 people already. And then her and her two friends make it to 15. And then outside of that 15, there's a host of side characters like the fan club and all that sort of other stuff that we meet along the way. And in general, these like 15 characters aren't always 16 actually, because I forgot the head of family. So 16 characters that are essentially main characters per se, because you kind of have to count all the Zodiacs as main characters because they show up randomly. Outside of Shigure, Kyo, and Yuki, they just kind of come and go whenever they want, and you're expected to know and remember who they are. And here's the thing. I don't know a ton about the Zodiac, right? I know what year I was born in. I know what animal I am, but I don't know a lot about the zodiac, and I don't know if you do, but I wonder if maybe some of the zodiac characters' personalities are meant to represent the zodiac animals and what they say people's personalities are if they're born in that zodiac. And I can't tell, obviously, because I don't know. It would be interesting if they were.
Sorry, I'm not into astrology. I have no idea.
Okay. I have a friend who's into astrology and all that, so maybe I could ask them. I never looked into it, but I've always thought that maybe that's why some of the characters were so like had like such a specific personality. Maybe someone in the comments can let us know if they actually know if that's what's going on. You know what I mean? Because that at least would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah,
they were trying
yeah.
to make like human representations of the zodiac and like the traditional zodiac personalities.
I think my problem right now is we have so many characters coming in and out that it's hard for me to remember them all, especially because I'm already pretty bad at names of characters, as Seki is well aware at this point. And B, because we're cycling through characters so often, it feels like the only character who I have a good grasp on their actual personality and struggles is Yuki.
Because Yuki is always there. Even
Yeah.
Kyo is less present than Yuki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes sense. He is, like, Toru, Yuki, and Kyo are kind of supposed to be our main characters.
And I say this with full acknowledgement. I also include Toru in it. I have no idea what the fuck we're supposed to be doing with
It's
Toru
because
as a
Toru
character.
doesn't have a personality.
You said it, not me. You said it, not me.
Toru is your self-insert. She is shy and clumsy and somehow stumbles her way into the love and adoration of everyone. I love Toru. She does not really have a personality. And I'm pretty firm in that opinion. Arisa and Uo both have a stronger personality than Toru. You know who else doesn't have a personality? Kyo.
Yeah.
Kyo is just a rebellious delinquent with a good heart. He is a trope, not a character. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Kyo and I love, Toru, but I don't think I'm wrong here, at least in my opinion. Especially considering this is maybe like the 8th or 9th time that I've been through this series. Because, I've watched both animes, I read it again, I watched both animes again. Toru she just doesn't have a personality. She's not the only shoujo protagonist to not have a personality. The point of Toru's character is for you to be able to put yourself in, getting into the shoujo market. The point of Toru's character is for a young girl to be able to put herself into Toru's role and associate herself with this character, and thus her only real personality traits are nice, shy, and clumsy. Which is something that most young girls tend to be. Jesus fucking Christ.
And so I will say in my defense, besides the fact, this goes beyond a little bit of I'm not the target demographic here. I also don't tend to like when they do that with men either. Because you get that a lot in harem anime, especially with men, or in power, like shonen. Not shonen. Shonen, actually, I would say, argue for all its faults, shonen does not usually give us characters that are just blank slates for you to project yourself.
No, shonen
onto.
usually gives us a character with a strong sense of morals and ethics, and a strong feeling about how the world is supposed to work, and intent behind their actions.
But your average school life targeted at men typically doesn't give the male character any personality beyond the
somehow women love me.
Yeah. I can't even describe it. I don't have much to go off of here.
Yeah.
So I don't really care for that aspect in storytelling in general, unless it's like a video game, at which point I'm the one playing it, I'm fine projecting myself.
Exactly. So I don't think it's a bad thing that she doesn't really have a personality, but it is true that she does not really have a personality. Somebody being shy and clumsy and nice is not a personality. Especially because Toru doesn't really have autonomy in Fruits Basket, she moves in reaction to all the other characters. She reacts to their movements and their opinions and their conversations. She does not uniquely start a whole lot of stuff on her own, and her biggest character calling card is the fact that she was bullied as a child, and that has led to her being quiet and shy and clumsy. And it's something for the male characters to go like, oh, that's so sad, you know? Rather than for her to actually enact some sort of change. Like Arisa or Uo, who are able to enact change and behave specific ways because they're not meant to be our main character, so they don't have to. You don't have to be able to insert yourself into Arisa or Uo's body.
Does since I'm not part of the target demographic, I do have to actually ask: does Toru at all have anything that's like for you? That's like occasionally you get oh, that's relatable. Like, if I pick another character from a series I think has just as much storytelling depth to it so far, Garfield. Garfield occasionally, like, I hate Mondays. Me too, I hate Mondays as well, Garfield. Do you ever get that, something like that with Toru that I'm not getting here?
Well, let me, thinking back to, like, me as, like, a 12-year-old when I was first watching this, right? Because so much of her personality is just her stammering and blushing when things happen or apologizing excessively. I don't think I ever like read it and was like, oh man, that's so relatable. She just always seemed a little bland and ditzy. She's ditzy to me. And maybe that's just because as a child I wasn't particularly kind and shy. Well, I think maybe when I was reading the books, I definitely empathized with the like her backstory of like being really lonely, because I had a pretty lonely childhood at school, but she doesn't really get any moments where she just like says something and you're like, oh, mood, same. I get more of those moments from like some of the other characters personally.
Because like for me, that's how you do if you're gonna do a self or an audience surrogate character and you want them to be relatable to the audience, you kind of want them to I feel like it shouldn't just be that they're a complete blank slate with like hints like hints the same way that sparkling water has hints of flavor of personality.
Okay, but I think there's two things going on here that's not making me have that exact reaction as intended. Is A, even though I was once 12 and reading this, I am no longer 12 and reading this.
True.
B, actually, this is going to be three things. B, at 12, I was not really a girly girl, and I was not into shoujo. This is one of the few shoujo series I actually read or watched. I was a shonen girl at age 12. Like, I wanted to see Goku beat the shit out of someone. And I thought it was more relatable when Goku ate like 15 pounds of spaghetti in a single sitting, because you've seen me do that, Knick Knack. You have seen me eat obscene amounts of food in a single sitting for fun. 2. And then 3, I think there's also, consider this, you shouldn't be thinking about a girl growing up in a Western culture when you think of the way that she's a blank slate. You need to be thinking of a girl growing up in Japan in like 2005. Japan is a more conservative country, and it is more frowned upon for girls to act out, so it's more approved if girls are shy and demure and don't do much. So it would have been more in line with the cultural upbringing and expectations placed on a Japanese 12-year-old than it would have been the ones placed on me as a 12-year-old. If that makes sense?
Yeah,
so
yeah, I could see that.
On like 3 different levels, this doesn't really resonate with me. One of them is just because I'm so much older now, it's hard to remember. The other one is my own personality, and the third one is socio-cultural expectations placed upon me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so even though I'm closer to the target demographic, I'm not quite at the target demographic myself. So, like, Toru was never my favorite character. Like, my favorite character was always, I think I've always really liked Shigure and Hattori. Like, when I read fan fiction about the series, it was always about Shigure or Hattori. Or Ayame. Yeah. And I don't think it's bad. And obviously I really love this series. I've said that a few times now just to clarify. But there's definitely some some simplistic characters. I mean, speaking of, I'm Year of the Rabbit, so, Momiji would have been...
Oh, year. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the same year.
Yeah, we're both Year of the Rabbit, so Momiji is our spiritual
But also,
comparison.
aren't zodiacs typically done through birth month?
No, year. I think. Yeah, because you're born in the year of the blank.
Sorry, I think there's two systems here.
You're thinking of Gemini. You're thinking of the star signs, which are 20-something day periods.
But I think those are the zodiacs. They're a little bit different.
I said zodiacs. I meant I meant the Chinese calendar years.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could
Zodiac. It's Chinese zodiacs. It's Chinese zodiacs. That actually does change things a lot when we're talking about whether or not astrologists would be able to draw links to their personalities, because they're very different systems.
Yeah.
I don't know if your average astrologist is looking at the Chinese zodiac.
I've been talking about the Chinese zodiac this whole time. I just haven't clarified Chinese. I've been calling it just the zodiac because I presumed that you knew I meant the Chinese zodiac.
Sorry, no, I registered when you said zodiac, I immediately registered the wrong zodiac here.
You thought about the Greek zodiac.
But that changes our entire conversation on the astrology, because astrology is typically I don't think I've ever seen an astrologist in English, at least.
Nope, there are personality traits ascribed to the Chinese zodiac.
Interesting.
Yeah, because that's how they make... Because they're in Chinese zodiac stuff, there's like certain animals are better matches for other animals. That's based on your personality traits. So when they say like, oh, like a dog and a boar make a really good pairing or something like that, it's based on your personality traits and such that are ascribed to you by the Chinese zodiac animal you're born with. So the Chinese zodiac animals do function in the same way as the Greek zodiac, in that there are ascribed personality traits to years you're born in.
This seems harder, though, because if you try to say, like, this zodiac from this year is really compatible with this zodiac from, like, the opposite end of the zodiac, you're just saying that generation really likes older people.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so there is actually a set of personality traits ascribed to the Chinese zodiac. So the conversation doesn't actually change. It just, you didn't understand what I was talking about the first time, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because you've been watching Fairy Tale recently. You've got the Greek zodiac on your mind.
Well, I think just in terms of astrology, it's always... The Greek zodiac is the one most people in English always talk about. I don't think I ever see people talk about the Chinese one.
I do. Let me clarify. I actually have a couple of friends who are into the whole astrology star sign thing. And in the community, at least in the Western astrology star sign community, you take into account every single zodiac. Like, I've got a friend who, when I mentioned that I'd never done like a star sign chart or whatever, she went and did the whole star sign chart for me based on my date of birth, month, everything, like year, across all of the zodiacs, because there's more than just 2. There's like 15 more, and a lot of people in the Western world don't draw a line between which ones they follow, and they'll do all of them, and they'll be like, I'm a Gemini, rising house of Gemini, Scorpio setting, year of the dragon, like, etc. It's, at least in the Western like astrology world, you do all of it, and it traces back to, and I'm gonna bring Fate into this, Helena Blavatsky and her fucking Theosophism, which took elements from religions all over the world and is the foundation of modern Western esotericism and occultism, which is all part of modern sort of Western astrology, which makes it like from all over the world. So it's wild. They, like, people who are into this, at least in the West, do not care what system it is. They do all of them and then combine them together. It is wild.
That hurts my head.
I know. I say from experience, because you can like look up, like if you go on one of those like check your zodiac, like your daily zodiac reading sites, they will have every single zodiac. So you just have to put in what you are in every single different system, and then they'll give you like a day layout of like how your day should go based on all of them.
Okay, but like if we're talking like your average white woman that's talking about her zodiac, it's
Is
usually in the
talking
context of
about
the Greek.
oh yeah, but if you ask, they will also talk about their Chinese zodiac. Because they'll be like, I'm a year of the dragon, but I'm a Gemini, which means that I'm both impetuous and loving. Because if one doesn't get you the correct answer, another one will.
You know, in Fate, there's a concept that Eastern and Western magecrafts don't mix very well, and you shouldn't do both at the same time.
Yeah, blame Helena Blavatsky. That is literally the cause of this. Like that is the grandmother of all of this Eastern Western occult and theosophy mixing. It's Helena Blavatsky and theosophism. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, so the Greek is done by birth month, the Chinese is done by birth year.
Bull rabbit.
Huh?
Bull rabbit.
Twin rabbit. Oh, because yeah, are you the... You're not the same Greek sign as
We mix right, like we split right there
on
at
the
the
border.
cutoff.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. Technically, if you use the original 13 sign calendar, we're the same one.
The original, yeah, but like
Yeah,
the new
but
one.
using the 12 sign calendar, we split down the middle and I'm one, you're the other. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, I don't have anything more to say on Fruits Basket.
Me neither.
So we'll be back next time with even more books. I will make Necky Knack a reader. Not that you're not already, but I will make it more.
Yeah, no, I think I've spent the majority of my time in the last few weeks reading.
I'm so sorry. All right. Well, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you have any thoughts.
Bye.